ladies and gentlemen, I hope that everyone is having a great time so far. We would like to thank Showside Grill and Essential Edibles Catering for our delicious menu tonight. Please continue to enjoy your meal as we begin our program. At this time, I would like to bring up Athletics Director Robbie Kennedy for a few words.
Last year, we were able to accomplish the goal of launching this event and enshrining the very important first class of Firebird Hall of Famers. This year is no less important, as it sets the tone of tradition, molding expectations, and marking folks' calendars with an honor that will be recognized for years to come. As before, we've had a fantastic committee this year who values Southern Nash as both a place of legacy and who work hard to make sure this event is top-notch. I'd like to ask the members of the Hall of Fame committee to stand and be recognized at this time. Our goal is for this night to be one of homecoming and celebration, and we'd love to see faces join us time and time again. Before we meet this year's class, let's welcome back 3 members of last year's induction class. I'd like to ask the members of the class of 2025 to stand and be recognized. The continued work of the committee and the endurance of this event is dependent upon the support of the community and the continued nominations of deserving individuals. If you have someone you'd like to nominate for future classes, there are cards located at all tables and also a page in your program that direct you to the nomination form. We appreciate your continued support.
Let's get to the heart of why we're here, why we are all here tonight. Recognition of the incredible men and women that make up the class of 2026. This class represents a span of almost 50 years at Southern Nash, with inductees competing for the Firebirds in 5 separate decades. The available records, photos, and archives range widely between them all, but the evidence for all of them stacks up for a clear picture of athletic greatness. Now, as we move to honor our stars of the evening, we'll bring up Miss Felice Perry Pete to introduce her friend, Lisa Tyson Rice.
Good evening. As stated, my name is Felice Perry Pete, and I am so very honored to return back to this place of so many memories. I am here to introduce my very first school friend. Lisa and I have been friends since kindergarten, where I was alone on a playground, and she came over to play with me at Bailey Elementary. And we became friends instantly. And we have been friends through all of our schooling, college, marriage, and children. She was very athletic always. And I tried to play Little League baseball with her, softball with her at Bailey Field. But I did not have the athleticism that she did. I began to cheer and was happy to cheer for my friend Lisa. She went on to be more than a simple friend. She became my family, and her family became my family because my father died tragically in a car accident in 7th grade. And while we did okay, my mother had to get a job that was in Raleigh. And in 1986, my sister was graduating, and that would leave me home alone. Lisa asked her mother and father if I could come in the mornings to stay with her so that I could go to school. And some days I would be dropped off so early, she and Julie didn't even get out of bed yet. And her dad came in, asked me if I wanted breakfast, and I sat there. And I did that until we could drive ourselves to school. And I just think so much of that. I thank them because, you know, we weren't latchkey kids, and my mother was so afraid to leave me home alone. Just anything could happen, and they didn't have to open their door, but they treated me just like I was their child. I can still remember every day that we would see each other, we would play softball, also something that did not work out for me. Coach Miller said, if you stand there and strike out again, you will never play softball again. And so again, I went to cheering and cheered my friend on. We followed different paths, and we have kept up with each other. And after graduation, she went to North Carolina Wesleyan in Rocky Mount, where she was also a rock star, where she has been inducted into their Hall of Fame as well. While there, she met the love of her life, Kevin Bryce, and they married and started a family, and they've been married 28 years. And Kevin loved me just like I was Julie. And we kept in touch, and they have two amazing daughters, Kendall of New Bern with her husband Holden, and Kyla, who's at the U.S. Naval Academy, who is going to entertain my son, hopefully, very soon. I could go on about Lisa's amazing basketball career and our friendship over the years when we meet. But I would tell you what I love most about her, as we both have advanced our lives in getting to know Jesus Christ. That she lives her life for him, and it shows. She has dedicated her life to serving the children in her church for over 20 years. The Bible states there is no greater love than those who love and sacrifice their life for another. And I believe that Lisa Tyson Bryce would do that to save one person. And she has sacrificed so much for the name of Jesus Christ. She is an unapologetic life for Jesus. And I present to you my best school friend, Lisa Tyson Bryce.
I said earlier, nothing like going first after 36 years, right? Thank you to our last name that triggered me this time. Obviously, this is an honor, and I certainly feel blessed to be here. It's actually very weird being in here when all of our generation is gone, and we don't know coaches anymore, and we don't know players anymore, but I definitely feel blessed to be here. I feel honored to have been chosen, and so thank you to everyone who was a part of that. I'll share a few quick things similar to what Felice did, and I actually did not know what she wrote, so it's interesting that we think alike still. But I grew up in a time where I felt like less was more. And I know we hear that, but I used to run on Highway 97. Would anybody do that now? No. I used to stand up on the bus on the dirt road. Don't tell anybody. That was not allowed, but it was then. We left our door unlocked in the morning so Felice could come in. We would not do that now. I used to run, I live less than a mile from here's where I grew up, and I used to run up to the high school, jump over the football fence, and run the bleachers because I didn't have anything else to do. We would ride to what used to be the Quick Pick for snacks in between games, only if we had time. And we actually played here in this gym on one of the original ACC teams on Saturday mornings. Nobody even knows who's in the ACC anymore, do you? No, those of you who follow basketball. Shooting baskets at night by one floodlight was a treat. And things like that, plus this high school, I feel are what shaped me. So I just wanted to say being a part of Firebird Country set the stage for our future. Coaches, teachers, the classroom, that gave us the push forward to what we all have become now in our adult lives. And as Felice said, college, jobs, relationships, family, that's where we've all landed now. And a lot of that goes back to what we got here. We didn't know it then, but it shaped us in many ways. Our experiences here were important, and it's now a life that we can be reminded of to celebrate and appreciate. To teachers who are in the room, you mattered then to us, and you matter now. The school systems actually do matter then, and they still matter now. Our coaches mattered then to us, and they matter now. And even though so much has changed from when I was here, I graduated in 90, but less is still more. So I just ask and encourage us all to never forget the simple things in life that honor others, encourage them, and humble us back towards the things that mattered most to us. So thank you to Southern Nash High School. Honestly, Scott, you might be one of the only people I recognize, and you were way ahead of me. Was it 2? 3?
Not way ahead.
It all runs together. Trust me, there's people you can't remember too. I believe that. So thank you, Southern Nash High School. It's very cool to know in Little Nash County, our school is still doing things that are allowing this school to thrive, encourage kids in the classroom, and encourage them in their sports. So thank you to the school for that. Thank you to teammates who we're looking back in yearbooks to see who we even played with. Some of them we remember, some of them we do not. But I do know we fought to the bitter end because I think our senior year we won 4 games. It was brutal. And we just kept on keeping on. That we didn't know what else to do, but just keep playing. So thank you to coaches and teachers who were here. Felice, thank you for coming in clutch, sort of last minute to make this happen. But it is true. A quick story. I always played, she always cheered. And we did go to away games and get McDonald's. And we had enough money to get our own meals and split a milkshake. And now they're advertising, y'all, that you can dip your chicken and your French fries in ice cream. So I believe we started it, and I think we should get some accolades for that, but we did that a long time ago. Thank you for just being you. You have always been enough, and you always will be. So thank you. Thank you to my family who is obviously here. You spent many times in the bleachers, probably holding your words and your actions, but one thing I do remember is that huge camcorder. So we have a lot of video, and I appreciate as much as you guys were here to support us in that. Thank you, babe. 28 years could never be enough to really express what you mean to me. My family, my oldest is here. I really have 2/3 of my kids here, like Felice said. So Kendall and Holden, I love you to pieces. And I'm better because you're in my life. So thank you, Aunt Dorothy, for being here. Thank you, Mama and Danny. I will love you until the bitter end. So thank you to Southern Nash High School. Thank you to the committee. This is an honor, and this is really cool, and I appreciate you guys putting it together. So thank you.
Just for the record, I graduated in 1987. Yes, Lisa graduated in 1990. So it was only 3 years, okay? 3 years. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a true honor to be here tonight. And not only am I the MC of the event, but I've also been awarded or chosen, whatever word you want to use, to introduce one of this year's inductees. So again, I just want to thank you so much for being here tonight as we celebrate, honor, and induct the 2026 class into the Southern Nash Athletics Hall of Fame. And tonight, I have the honor of introducing one of the members of this year's class, one of my former players, Georgia Davis Brown. When Georgia was chosen as one of this year's inductees, I naturally assumed that her father, Coach Ray Davis, would be her presenter. So it did come as somewhat of a surprise when Georgia asked me if I would serve as her presenter. It is truly one of the greatest honors I've received in my 30 years of teaching and coaching. It is also honestly one of the scariest, because how do you truly get across your feelings about one of the most driven, determined, focused, and special individuals you've ever met? I could write the greatest induction speech in the history of induction speeches, and it would not do her justice as a student, an athlete, a daughter, a mother, or any of the other various roles that she occupies in her life. As many of you know, I teach English here at Southern Nash. As an English teacher, I love making personal connections with the stories that we read in class by recalling events about my former players and my interactions with them. Georgia has been the subject of many of those stories. I love telling my students about the young woman who played 6 sports in high school, not in her high school career, but in one calendar year. I love telling them about my former player who was one of the most recognized and honored student athletes I've ever had the pleasure of being around. 11 all-conference selections in multiple sports, 2-time All-State in track, WRAL Extra Effort Award winner, and the Wilson Daily Times Athlete of the Year, just to name a few of her many honors. I love telling them about the young woman who never made a B in all her years of elementary, middle, and high school. I love telling them about the young woman who was valedictorian of the Southern Nash class of 2002. I love telling them about the young woman who attended North Carolina State University and how she was the recipient of the Park Scholarship, one of NC State's most prestigious academic honors. Writing this induction made me think of many words to best describe Georgia. But which word should I pick and focus on the most? Committed? Disciplined, perhaps? How about stubborn? All of these are not only possibilities, but also correct in their own way. I think the best word to describe Georgia, however, is simply the word work. When I think about Georgia, that is often the first thing that pops in my mind. Incredible work ethic. In my opinion, that is the thing that separates her from others. It's what pushed her to make all A's, pushed her to play 6 sports, pushed her to set track records, pushed her to master things that she struggled with, and pushed her to be the person she has turned out to be. I firmly believe Georgia's answer to most problems would be to outwork her competition, outwork her colleagues, and essentially outwork the problem. The Southern Nash Athletics Hall of Fame was the brainchild of Athletic Director Robbie Kennedy and Assistant Athletic Director Chris Face. I think both of these individuals would tell you the most important decision they made in the process was asking Georgia for assistance in putting this together. Georgia's a person that you can tell her what you want, and all you have to do is get out of her way. Because whatever she's working on will be completed thoroughly, decisively, and at the highest possible level. I say that in the most complimentary of ways, and anyone who knows her, who has worked with her, knows exactly what I'm talking about. Her thoroughness, attention to detail, and drive have been the catalyst to a lifetime of achievement and tremendous success. I'm going to conclude this induction by saying that Georgia is also the example that I use most when speaking to my students to characterize what I believe the purpose of high school to be. One of the most rewarding aspects of my job is seeing young people grow and mature over a 4-year period of time. Listening to this speech and looking at her high school achievements, many people would probably assume that Georgia had everything figured out the day she walked on campus. There were times, however, that she actually did struggle with certain things. Correct shooting form and dribble moves in basketball, for instance. And making an accurate throw with a wet softball proved to be troublesome at least one time in her career. Coach Davis can certainly attest to that. You know it's bad when the coach calls time to walk to the outfield and discuss not only the aforementioned throw, but also her reaction to her coaching. I'm glad I wasn't there that night because I probably would have been worried for Georgia's safety. Sometimes in life, however, people have what I call an aha moment. The moment in time when things come together, the picture becomes clear, and everything makes sense. I think Georgia's aha moment came during her senior year when she was applying for the Park Scholarship. Part of the application involved writing an essay, and she was finished. She asked me to proofread what she wrote. I'm paraphrasing here, but she essentially said in her essay, "I realized I don't have to be perfect." The imagery of that statement for me is a weight being lifted from someone, chains being broken, and a person confident enough and vulnerable enough to understand I'm good at what I do, but I'm also going to make mistakes from time to time. I guarantee you that even today when Georgia makes a mistake, she's not happy about it. I will also guarantee that during that rare time she may make a mistake, that determined, driven, competitive work ethic will kick in, and she will outwork the mistake and make sure she learns and improves because of it. Ladies and gentlemen, I could not be more proud to introduce a true Southern Nash great and a well-deserved member of the Southern Nash Athletics Class of 26 Hall of Fame, Miss Georgia Davis Brown.
Thank you, Coach Colley. On the very first note of imperfection, I forgot to print off my own remarks for tonight. But thankful in an age of technology, I can pull it up on my phone. It seems almost too good to be true that I would receive an honor for doing what I enjoyed at a place I adored with people I loved. From the time I was in preschool, Southern Nash was a magical place where Friday night lights burned bright, crowds cheered, and Firebirds soared. I loved every second I spent here as a young child, even when it meant folding laundry and cleaning up under the bleachers. So when I was old enough to earn the chance to be a Firebird, I was going to find every reason to. It's not lost on me. The high school athletics serves as an important escape for some people, avoiding a life at home that may not be ideal. But for me, I was blessed. Southern Nash was an extension of home, with the sense of place and belonging, never wavering between the two. I was rarely, likely never, the most athletic on any of the 23 rosters I was on. But I suppose what I lacked in natural ability, I made up for in a perfect blend of school pride and sheer hard-headedness, and I guess that counts for something. And while I would protest my suitability for this recognition, I'd rather spend the time shining a light on all those who I consider to wear the medal with me. I will quickly give thanks to those I can and ask forgiveness for those I miss, and wholeheartedly acknowledge that nothing I ever did was possible by myself. I'm thankful for those who nominated me and the committee who found me worthy. I'm thankful for my parents. I think when I was in high school, it would have been expressed as, my parents are always around. But as an adult, I'm grateful to be able to say, my parents were and are always around. Anything good I have accomplished in this life would not have been possible without their standards, their love and support, and their transportation. When Mom and Daddy agreed my freshman year to let me try track and softball together as long as my grades didn't suffer, I don't think they knew where it would lead, but they stuck with their end of the deal, and I stuck with mine, and it changed my life. Thank you to my husband, Lee, who wasn't fortunate enough to know the high school version of Georgia Davis, but I haven't changed a whole lot, and he still puts up with me anyway. To my beautiful girls, Hazel and Autumn, who listen to my stories, willingly get dragged along to Firebird games now, and who have graciously not yet called me out on my blatant hypocrisy when I look them dead in their eyes and tell them they can only choose one thing to do. I am thankful for my extended family, friends, and friends who will be forever family, for their constant love and support. I appreciate my classmates, teachers, and administrators who understood everything I was trying to achieve and patiently forgave hectic schedules, but still held me to the highest academic standards. I am thankful for talented teammates who pushed me and helped build lasting memories and legacies. Their stories will always be interwoven in mine. You really get to know people during daily practices, nail-biter games, and long bus rides all across eastern North Carolina. I look forward to continuing to nominate and celebrating them in years to come. And lastly, my coaches. It is a special situation when you get to have your own dad as your coach, and I wouldn't trade those memories. From the reprimands I deserved all the way across the softball field, to the quiet moments outside his office after I finished a morning track workout waiting for the morning bell to ring. In having almost exclusively male coaches, I was fortunate to gain an additional half dozen more father figures during my time here, and so many of them could be here tonight. They taught me, they supported me, they challenged me. They met my stubbornness with that of their own, and I am better for it. A lot of people have asked over the years, if I had to do it again, would I double up again? Wouldn't I have been faster on the track if I had not played softball? Wouldn't it have been a better shooter in basketball if I had spent Saturdays in shooting instead of at indoor track meets in the winter? One, I think that puts a lot of false confidence in my athletic abilities. And two, I wouldn't do it again differently any other way 1,000 times over. What maybe I could have gained in skill would have been incremental, but what I would have lost in memories, friendships, and coaching wisdom would have been vast. And on that note, I want to close with a few bits of coaching wisdom that I received right here that have stuck in my mind for 25 years that I would now like to gift to you. One, if you're not messing up, you're not getting better. We only know how truly good we can be if we have the courage to fail along the way. Two, many wonderful variations of shut up and run. And that was what I needed to hear at the time that I needed to hear it. And I say that to myself many days now to get out the door and run. Always hit your cutoff man, especially if it's raining. And this one's hard for me. We should accept the help that is put there for us, particularly in times of adversity. And last, don't let being perfect get in the way of being great. My time here at Southern Nash certainly wasn't perfect. I had more air balls, fouls, strikeouts, DNFs, net serves than any one person should be allowed. But my time, my experience, and my memories, they're great. And I'm so thankful to be able to add tonight to that. I appreciate you all. Go Firebirds.
I'm very happy that Georgia included that last quote there because I was standing right beside her when that was told to her. I didn't say it, but I was literally 5 feet away from the person who did say it. And Georgia, when she asked me if I would introduce her, she said, "You can talk about anything, but you can't use that quote." And so I had to start all over because when she had, that's one of the first things I was going to say because that was said 26 years ago, 27 years ago. It was her sophomore year of high school. And obviously it stuck with her and it stuck with me too. So certainly words too I remember. So thank you, Georgia, for including that. Tracy Coppage is our next honoree to be introduced by his former coach, Brian Foster.
I just want to congratulate all the honorees that are joining us tonight. Got to coach and teach many of them, and well deserved. To start with, this is going to be a little different, so forgive me, Tracy. But if you played for me, you were used to hearing that all we needed to be ready to play was the national anthem and our helmets. The weather, the location, the time of day, nor the opponent mattered. When our next inductee played for me, I had to add one more thing to the list. Tracy Coppage had to throw up. And just like the others, it did not matter the weather, the location, the time of day, or the opponents. Sometimes it would even come right down to the last minute before kickoff. That is how much it meant to Tracy. How much he had worked himself up and was ready to play. But after it happened, it was showtime. It was so much fun to see him compete against guys twice his size and be the victor. What a heart and what talent God blessed him with. If you heard me speak last year, you know I really love quotes. One that I think best tells his story as a running back is small hinges open big doors. Those of you here tonight that had the honor of seeing him play realize he did just that. You did not want to miss a play because you knew at any time something spectacular could happen. Along with his fellow wing, Taryn Huffman, they left no doubt that it is not the size of the man, but the size of the heart that matters. 5'7", 156, and 5'6", 145 was the size of Tracy and Taryn when we played in the Eastern Finals in 2009. Yeah, I was gonna get you real old, Tracy. I'm sorry. In the Eastern Finals in 2009, so many people would look at them before games and they would say, "There's no way they would be able to do anything against our team," but they did, and they did it consistently. That does not mean that it was easy. It took unbelievable heart and extreme effort. I remember after our third round game against Grays Creek that same year, actually seeing welt marks on their necks from being hit so hard. Just unbelievable competitors. Tracy was not just fun to watch on the football field. If you look up in the rafters, you will see he could run as well, which is represented by his part in the state championship 4x2 relay team. That championship speaks to what teamwork can do, because individually, none of those guys were the fastest 200 guys in the state. But together, the love, belief, and technique they had allowed them to be champions and win that state championship. Tracy was also a person who could be counted on during the school day. A number of his teachers over his 4 years made a point to go out of their way to tell me what a positive impact Tracy made in their class. He made others feel special and included them in his group, which made the teacher's job easier and much more enjoyable. One last story about athletics and character is from after that 2009 Eastern Championship game at South Johnson. It was a really hard-fought game that ended with us losing in triple overtime for a chance to play in a state championship. Tracy was only a sophomore and had played really hard in an extremely tough game. Just like the head coach, after that loss, he was extremely disappointed and emotional. But what he did during that disappointment blesses me until this day. Somehow, at the very end of the fourth quarter, my youngest son, Matt, who was only 7 at the time, had managed to get away from his mom while she was doing stats for the team and was on our sidelines. He became really emotional after the first overtime, and by the time the game ended, he was crying on my shoulders as we were shaking hands accepting the regional runner-up plaque. It was not just a game to him. It was personal. It was his life. He was seeing his brothers, his family hurting. I remember I just could not get him to quit crying. When I asked him what he wanted to do, what would help him, he said, "I want to be with Tracy Coppage." I went to Tracy and explained to him what was going on, and Tracy, crying himself, said, "My brother needs to be with me." That 7-year-old boy rode the bus back with Tracy, and Tracy gave him the love and the drive to be just like him one day. 10 years later, because of that bus ride and the family that guys like Tracy helped develop, that 7-year-old boy, who was now 17, helped win the first regional championship in Southern Nash history right here in Southern Nash Stadium. And the next week, playing the first state championship game in Southern Nash history. Tracy needs to know that he and other guys that believed, sacrificed, and did things the right way made that happen. That is the athletic, academic, and character side of Tracy Coppage through high school that made him worthy of being inducted into this Hall of Fame class. Everything I just talked about is great and makes Tracy special, but what means more to me than anything is the great man, husband, and father he has become, which is something else that I know our players probably got tired of hearing me say multiple times a day to them. This came through loud and clear to me in a text I received from Tracy when he asked me if I'd be willing to introduce him tonight. Instead of me talking about that text, I thought I would just read it in Tracy's own words, which I hope he does not mind. "Coach, I got a call from Coach Kennedy. I'm getting inducted in March, headed to church for an Art of Marriage class, which is a group for couples to be able to challenge their spouses to put God first, to put God at the forefront of their relationships, no matter what. My wife and I are co-hosts and are excited for this journey. Otherwise, I'd call you. Wanted to ask if you'd speak on my behalf. It would be awesome." That is one of the best texts I'd ever received from a former player. Nothing makes me happier than knowing that one of my former players is getting it, is striving to be the best man they can possibly be. On our weight room door here at school, I put the words, "What is your purpose?" I believe Tracy is one of the blessed ones that knows his purpose. Mark Twain once said, "The two most important days of your life are the day you are born and the day you figure out why." Tracy did many great things as a student athlete, but he knew his real purpose was to live each day for God and be the very best man, husband, and father possible. He is blessed to be married to his beautiful wife, Samantha, and they have two beautiful children, daughter Winslow and son Dotson. He has given back to the community working as a trainer and is the owner of two stretch zones, one in Burlington, North Carolina, and one in Gastonia, North Carolina. So if any of you are needing to tap into that fountain of youth and get that body feeling good again, you may want to give Tracy a call. I love Tracy Coppage, and I am blessed to say I coach Tracy Coppage. I'm even more blessed to call him my friend and know that he knows his purpose. So please join me in welcoming my friend Tracy Coppage to the podium for induction to the Southern Nash Hall of Fame.
Appreciate the kind words, Coach Foster. Y'all, I did not throw up before this, so we good. We good. It's a little surreal for me to be standing up here right now, just being back home and being able to spend this moment with family and coaches and new and old staff and family and friends. But none of this happens without God. So I thank him every day for the opportunity. Then now, it's a true blessing to be here. I'd also want to thank my mom and dad. Thank you for believing in the things that I love so much that you were willing to sacrifice for them. Leaving work early, making long drives across states to watch me play, even when I got to Elon. Even though you use my car from time to time. That's cool too. But what you may not have realized is at the time, you guys were teaching me something far bigger than sports. You taught me how to commit to what I love, not halfway, not when it's convenient, but with everything I've got. And for that, I love you guys. Thank you. To my brothers, I appreciate you guys for always putting up with the come out and throw the ball with me. Come get this work moments kind of conversations. But a lot of the abilities that God blessed me with, I was able to sharpen behind the scenes with you guys, and for that, I'm grateful, and I love y'all. To the rest of my family, my village, I thank you for the long drives, the late nights, the extremely loud cowbells, and just the late nights. I thank you for that. There's a lot of the times where I might have physically been hurt from after games, or I've doubted myself because I've always been told how small I was, but I've always wanted to make you guys proud, so I got up every time, and I just kept doing it. So for that, I also want to thank you. Of course, I want to thank my coaches, my teammates, teachers, and athletic support staff. The motto we heard a lot of the times when I was here was all in. And a lot of people might think, okay, you know, blood, sweat, tears, wins, all of the good things like that. But for me, it was something deeper. Between the whistles and the crack of the pads of practice, what stuck with me the most was how we used football to help us become better men. And that mission is something that I carry every day of my life, and it's a big part of what's brought me here. Today I'm blessed, like Coach Foster said, with my beautiful family, my wife Samantha, who's here, my two beautiful children, Winslow and Dotson. Everything I learned along the way, here and in between, has helped prepare me to be a better man that I could be for them. So for that, I thank all of you guys. Just sharing a couple things that I can always remember. And it's one of the things is summer camp at Camp Bonner, and a lot of people don't know about it. But when we got there, we were told no phones, so we had to give our phones up. We realized we were sleeping on cots. We had some river days, so we had a lot of fun. We had some snake visits and tents, and we had a couple fights. But at the end of it, it brought us closer. We bonded and we grew as men, but most importantly, we had a chance to win. So that was an awesome experience. But you also, at the end of the day, thought about how that made you bigger, how everything that you did there was bigger than yourself. So, and of course, some people don't know, some people know, some people don't know, but the throw up story is just, it became a thing. Some of you might not know about this, but when I threw up for the first time, it was like, oh, somebody's throwing up kind of situation. But some really cool things happened after that. And then once the coaches figured out, they used to always ask me, have you thrown up yet? And so I'm like, man, I don't really want to throw up. But in one of the games I didn't throw up, I remember Coach Rice asking me on the sideline, hey, did you throw up? Because you're running ugly. So I was like, what does that even mean? But at halftime, I tried to figure out what I could do to throw up so I could make something happen. And I came back after halftime running a little bit better, a little less ugly, so to speak. So shout out to Miss Kennedy. She always had me some Skittles and pickle juice to keep me back up, but that's big time. Before my grandmothers passed away, they used to always tell me, Trey, I've gone a lot of places I never thought I'd go just to see you play, and I'm happy I was able to. So that's something that every time I heard it, it reminded me of the legacy that I've wanted to leave behind, because it's always bigger than my athletic ability, trophies, or accolades. It's about the impact, it's about people, and it's about giving others a reason to believe. I pray that God continues to lay the foundation for the many Firebirds to come, that they understand how special it is not only to be talented, but to be surrounded by supportive people and meaningful opportunities, because that can be life-changing. So to anyone who's ever said, I wish I could be here, or I wish I could do that, I want you to hear me when I say this. I've always been the smaller guy in the room, but I've trusted what God blessed me with, my talent, my competitiveness, and because of that, I believed in myself and I've found ways to succeed. I want to leave you with a quote that I try to live by now as a man and a husband and a father. It's from the book called As a Man Thinketh by James Allen, and it says, circumstance doesn't make the man, it reveals him to himself. And you can do what you will with it, but you're always in control of how you respond to your circumstances. And so with that, I just want to say thank you to Southern Nash, to everyone who got me to this position, and I'm humbled to be inducted into the Athletic Hall of Fame tonight with great honorees. This place has helped me become the man I am today, and for that, I'm grateful. So, thank you.
I'll now ask Coach Foster to step back up as he introduces another of his former athletes, Rashawn Deans.
When you start a journey, you have a destination you hope to reach. In school and sports, it's much the same way. When this next inductee asked me if I would be willing to introduce him tonight, I immediately thought of the journey and all that went into it. I had the honor of meeting this young man when I first moved to this area in 1990. That was 3 years after Coach Colley graduated.
So you get it.
I get it.
You get it.
I get it. So I got to witness much of his journey firsthand. Many people believe that winning or being successful comes down to being lucky or being more gifted than others or somehow just getting all the breaks. I have been fortunate enough as a coach, teacher, and mentor to see that a lot of the time it is just the opposite of that. The journey to winning or success is usually filled with heartbreaks, failures, and mistakes, just like other people that do not have those same successes. The difference is when those tough times happen, they do not quit, they do not blame others, they get back to work and learn from those mistakes. That sums up this inductee's journey. 2 quotes go along with these principles. Arnold Schwarzenegger said, "Strength does not come from winning. Your struggles develop your strengths. When you go through hardships and decide not to surrender, that is true strength." And Michael Jordan summed it up in another way when he said, "If you quit once, it becomes a habit." This inductee could have quit when his grades were bad in middle school. To his credit, he was trying to figure out a way to correct that situation. He had heard of college players getting to redshirt. So he asked me if there was any way that he could redshirt in middle school. In his words, he said it would be like it never happened. Just have him a do-over. I explained to him that there was no red shirts in middle school. Actually, I picked on him for a long, long time. And to tell you the truth, I still pick on him to this day. I explained to him that colleges went by high school transcripts, not middle school transcripts. So in some ways, he was given the opportunity to have that do-over. I stressed to him that what mattered at this point was that what he did in high school, and if he really wanted to do what he said, which was earn a college scholarship. That ultimately only he controlled his decisions and successes moving forward. He heard those words and accepted that challenge. He worked hard and his grades got better and better. He became a leader in the classroom at Southern, and all his teachers considered him a blessing and loved having that beautiful smile in class. His decisions were definitely finally matching his words. The hard work paid off, and he earned that athletic scholarship to East Carolina University and flourished, making the dean's list for his grades several semesters and became vice president of the Academic Athletic Advisor Council his senior year. So he went from asking for a red shirt in middle school to success in high school to thriving in college. And he did that because he did not quit. That was his journey academically. Athletically, you can look in the Raptors and you see Rashawn Dean, state champion. But that state championship did not come without failure and disappointment. Imagine working for something harder than you had ever worked for something in your entire life. And some way, somehow, you get that opportunity to have all that work pay off on one special day. That is what happened to Rashawn his junior year at the state championship meet. He had won the regional meet and had one of the top times going into the state meet. All he had to do was spend 14 seconds of his life doing exactly what he had been doing over and over many times working up to that day. There was only one problem. Before that 14 seconds could start, he had to hear the starter's pistol go off. If anyone started early, they would be disqualified and taken off the track. No second chances. I guess you know what happened next. Rashawn jumps the gun. So the day that was meant to be the ultimate reward had turned into devastation. Rashawn was in the lowest of lows. The same Rashawn that I took to a Chinese restaurant one time, and when he opened his fortune cookie, I asked him what it said. And as only Rashawn can do, he looked right at me and said, "The little black kid will win the Olympics." The same Rashawn that gave me an 8x10 graduation picture because he said he wanted to stand out from all the small ones. The same Rashawn that called me collect from the Carrier Dome in Syracuse, New York, because he wanted me to hear what the national anthem sounded like inside a dome. That happy-go-lucky, fun to be around Rashawn was absolutely devastated, almost uncontrollably. Some people would have had said, forget it. This is not worth it. I worked this hard and don't even get a second chance. I am done. I will just do something else. But Rashawn did not blame others. He got back up, got to work, and he learned from that mistake. The next year, he won the regional again and gave himself the chance to have that special day again. This time, as we have already seen when we looked at the Raptors before, he finished his journey and became state champion. So he went from jumping the gun and being in the lowest of lows to state champion, all because he did not quit. That was his journey athletically. Rashawn has also won in life. He is married to his beautiful wife, Aisha, and he sings some song about Aisha, and maybe he'll do that when he comes up. They have two handsome sons, two handsome sons, Hampton and Grayson. Rashawn said it best when he said they are his real trophies, his real state championships. He has also put that ECU degree to work by working for ECU's rival, North Carolina State, where he is a senior network engineer. He wanted me to let everyone know, though, that he still wears that purple and gold to work. That is his journey personally. Before I bring Rashawn up, I wanted to tell one funny story about him. During his recruiting process, I had the honor to take Rashawn to Western Carolina on a 5.5-hour drive. During that 5.5 drive, we got to talk a lot, Rashawn mostly, which I loved. But anyhow, we get to Western and the head coach is waiting for us at the facility. Rashawn gets out of the car and the coach walks towards him. Rashawn looks at him with that big smile, but out of the corner of his eyes, Rashawn sees a rubberized track about 400 yards away from us. Nothing like the asphalt track we had here at Southern Nash that he had received so many scrapes and bruises from. Without hesitation, instead of shaking the coach's hand, Rashawn sprints straight to that track and runs around it. Me and the coach could do nothing but laugh, but that's a classic Rashawn moment. I love Rashawn Deans. Always have, always will. I still have that 8x10 graduation picture proudly displayed in my office at home. And I am blessed to say I coach Rashawn Deans. I mean, more blessed to call him my friend and know that he continues not to quit and succeed daily. So please join me in welcoming my friend Rashawn Deans to the podium for induction to the Southern Nash Hall of Fame.
Good evening. Trace, I feel like I need to throw up. Yeah, go ahead and get ready. Thank you, Coach Foster, for that introduction. And thank you to the Southern Nash Hall of Fame Committee for selecting me as part of the 2006 class. This is truly an honor. As Coach Foster mentioned, my journey through high school and college, it wasn't always easy, but it was definitely rewarding. To be honest, my high school career didn't start in a way I was proud of. I spent time hanging out with the wrong people, trying to fit in instead of stand out. You know, I was promoted to the 9th grade only passing 3 classes. You know, I went through summer practice with JV. We took the team photos, and I thought I was ready for the upcoming football season until I was called into the coach's office and was told that I was academically ineligible, AKA that led to the red shirt request to Coach Foster that was not granted. At that time, it didn't fully hit me, but that changed when I attended the Southern Nash versus Smithfield-Selma football game. I was sitting in the stands, and I had to watch all my teammates play, and they were just having so much fun. I had to walk down to the bleachers and go in the backside of the press box. I was devastated. I said at that point, that would never happen again. That moment changed me. My senior year after winning the Extra Effort Award, I recall telling Tom Suter, I made a promise to myself that I would never not be able to participate and be on the field due to my academics. And I did everything I could to stick to that. Coach Foster, thank you. When I first stepped on the track, I had no idea what to compete in as a freshman. So he guided me. He introduced me to the hurdles. And the rest is history. You know, and also, as he mentioned, just going above and beyond as he always does. He took me to my first ECU football game. And who would know that 4 years later, that would be the place that I would call home from 1995 through 1999 and still love to go there to this day. Go Pirates. Even in college, he still kept me accountable. You know, he would call time to time and we would talk with each other. And the first thing out of his mouth, he would ask me, how are your grades? And he said, tell me the truth, or I'll beat you up. And he said, you know I can do it. So just thank you again, Coach. Next, I got to thank Coach Tyree. I don't think he's here tonight. I haven't seen him, but Coach Tyree gave me the nickname RD. And he not only did he push me on the track, but he also pushed me in the classroom as well. I took his class, African American Studies, and that was a great class. We had some very phenomenal and great conversation in that class. Also, as a freshman, he trusted me. I was the only freshman that ran on a relay with Arthur Perry, Greg Davis, and Philip Epps. He trusted me as a freshman to sit there and ensure the baton passed all the way around the track. And as a freshman, the moment wouldn't be too big for me, and I would make a mistake and could harm the team. So I thank him for that. I also want to thank him because he also took good care of me. As Coach Foster mentioned earlier, if you fall on that track, you would go get scraped up. And Coach Tyree would always bandage you up. Even after a long track meet, because we would always run 4 events, he would stay late and we would go in the locker room and he would get the hot tub or the whirlpool ready for you to sit there and get some post-recovery to get ready for the next track meet. And anytime he did that, it was genuine. He was never in a rush. No matter how late it was, he stayed there until you were finished. And then he would say good night and see you tomorrow. Next, I want to thank my mom, my dad, my aunt, my uncle. As we all know, as others have already alluded to, sacrifice from work, time, finances to buy the things that we need to compete at this level for 4 years. So I want to say thank you for that. You know, one other thing is that track, it gave me direction. It's just whenever it's a team sport, one thing I loved about it is an individual event. So you still had the ability to excel, but you could also stand out individually, but also help your teammates in the same process. My junior year, I injured my hip flexor and I was out a couple of months. And when I finally was cleared to return back to the track, I placed high at the conference meet and I was really, really excited. So I ran, just like at the Carrier Dome, I gave Coach Foster a call. And I was all excited about my finish. And he was like, why are you excited? I knew you had it in you. That's Coach Foster for you. I want to thank my wife and my kids. Just thank you for taking time to be here today and tonight to help me celebrate this. But I also want to give a special thanks to my older son, Hampton, because we're currently right now playing in the Jefferson Cup in Richmond. So we left earlier today to drive down here to attend the banquet. And afterwards, we're heading back to Richmond because he has a match tomorrow morning. But when I mentioned to him what we were doing, no hesitation, no back talk, he was all on board. So thank you, son. But if I could just, I was voted most talkative in my senior class, and so I could chat a little bit. But I do want to share one story. I tell people all the time, high school molds you into being the person that you are, and it teaches you a lot of life lessons. And I just hate to keep going back to Coach Foster, but I learned a lot from him over the years here. And I'll be really quick. It was a game we were playing Fike High School my senior year. And Coach Foster at that time had us running cover 3 zone. So they kept flooding my zone, and I either had to make a choice, come up and defend the running back out the backfield or get the tight end in the flat. So he called a timeout, and he came out there. And while he was addressing the team, I lost my mind for a minute and thought I was a defensive coordinator, and I back-talked him and told him we need to change the coverage. Woo, not pretty. He kicked me off the field. He said, get off. So I was like, okay. So I went over there to the sideline, and he sent my cousin, Tormaine Strickland, in to take my place on the field. So I was like, okay, 1 or 2 plays, I'll be back in. 2 went to 4, 4 went to 6, and then we punted the ball. Okay. I'm all right, my little punishment is over. No. So offense had the ball, so they ended up having to punt. So defense got ready to go back out there. I grabbed my helmet, running on the field. He looked at me, where are you going? I was looking down, I said, what? So I went back over there and stood. A couple of plays went by, and he finally put me back in the game. I was like, whew, finally. I get out there on the field, he calls timeout. He comes out there, I'm like, okay, what is it? He just looks at me, don't say a word, get off the field. And I'm just like, I went over there, stood to the side. About maybe 3 or 4 plays went by, he looked at me. He said, are you ever going to back talk me again? I said, no, sir. I say that, and I tell that story all the time. There was a lesson of authority. When your coach is talking to you and is giving you orders, you be quiet and just follow the rules and what they have set for us and tell us what to do. And that story sticks with me to life, and I just tell the people all the time. And with that, I just want to say, once again, thank you. The journey started with a few setbacks in life, but it ends here. I made it to the Hall of Fame. Thank you. Go Firebirds.
Up next is honoree Wayne Grady, to be introduced by his niece, Arlene Grady.
What a walk. Last time I walked this stage was at graduation, so class of '07. Good evening, everyone. It is truly an honor to stand before you tonight and introduce someone who means far more to me than that name printed on your program, my uncle, Wayne Grady. Growing up, the thought of attending the same school as my dad and my uncle was something special. There was a quiet pride in knowing they had all walked the same halls, my sisters and I did, sat in the same classrooms, and probably bent a few of the same rules along the way, like hopping the railing to get to lunch just a little bit faster, back when lunch was worth running for. Southern Nash wasn't just a school to us. It was a shared family experience. One of the moments that stands out most for me was walking through the front door of Southern Nash and looking up above the trophy case to see a retired jersey with our last name on it. In a small town like Spring Hope, that means something. The Grady name was known not because of ego, but because of effort, consistency, and pride in representing something bigger than ourselves. Athletics were always part of that identity. My sisters and I, who attended Southern Nash, all played sports, basketball under Coach Colley, track, and even dipped our toes into volleyball in our last couple years here. We were active, competitive, and committed. But more than that, we understood that what my uncle had accomplished during his time at Southern Nash helped pave the way for us. He gave us something to uphold, something to represent, not pressure, but purpose. What made my uncle's time at Southern Nash so meaningful wasn't just what happened on the field, but the relationships that shaped him. Playing football came naturally for him because the teammates he lined up beside on Friday nights were the same guys he played pickup ball and football with in the neighborhood. He and my dad were always outside throwing a football, playing ball, and competing just for the love of it. So when it came time to play together as a team, the chemistry was already there. He said many times that his friends made him a better athlete. And that says a lot about how much he valued connection over individual success. When I asked my uncle about his game day routine and how he prepared mentally, physically, his answer was simple and very on brand. He said his coach could always find him lifting weights before a game, especially during baseball season. If you know my uncle, that won't surprise you. He definitely loved lifting weights. That discipline and consistency followed him well beyond high school, eventually leading to him becoming Mr. North Carolina bodybuilder. But even then, it was never about the title.
It was about the work. One of the most meaningful relationships my uncle spoke about was with his coach, Ron Pinner. He described Coach Pinner as a second father, someone who supported him, pushed him, and believed in him when my uncle wasn't sure of the path ahead. While baseball was his first love, Coach Pinner saw something special in him on the football field. He didn't just coach my uncle, he guided him, positioned him, and opened doors that ultimately led him to play football in college. That's the power of a great coach. They don't just prepare you for the next game, they help prepare you for life. Like my uncle, I too am a Tar Heel, now in my second year as a doctoral student. Southern Nash gave him the foundation to move forward, and it has done the same for our family in ways that continue to matter. That connection is lasting. Tonight, it isn't just about recognizing accomplishments. Those speak for themselves. Tonight is about honoring legacy, relationships, and the quiet influence of someone who set a standard long before we ever knew we were following it. Uncle Wayne, your story is woven into this school, into our family, and into the lives of those who learned beside you, played beside you, and were guided by you. Your example reminds us that success isn't built on community. Your example reminds us that success is built on community, discipline, and the people who believe in you before you even believe in yourself. So it is with great pride, gratitude, and love that I welcome you to the stage. Please join me in honoring my uncle, Wayne Grady.
All right, I'll keep this short. This won't be very long. Make everybody go to sleep on me. What a great bio for my niece over there. Love her to death. Thank you, dear. I don't have the coaches and stuff like that like a lot of, I'm back in the 80s, so, well, actually in the late 70s. So my coach right now was still living. He'd be up there in heaven right now just telling me, says, you better open your mouth and say something, because I've always been a quiet person. So he says he wants me to go ahead and say something, and I've always been quiet the whole time I was here at Southern Nash. But he taught me the ways how to open my mouth, share my ideas with people, and be sociable. And college life did turn me around, though. One thing about Coach Pinner and one of my baseball coach at the time, they were good at setting me a lifestyle of going on forward, but I had to take it on myself at that point when I got to college because I was by myself. I was lonely. I didn't know who else to turn to, so I had to make a way for myself. Got out of team sports, got into bodybuilding, and that made it more true to me than anything. It was more of an individual sport. Team sports tended me to. I was more high anxiety, and I was building up a lot of pressure and just high anxiety and depression with being in team sports because I always had other people to rely on. So in bodybuilding, it was more of a team, more of an individual sport where I can actually do things for myself. So it made me to get to the point where I can understand people, leading my way in life, and if, like I said, Coach Pinner right now, he was telling me, he said, if anything you don't say anything up here, just go ahead and tell them thank you. So I want to say thank you to Southern Nash for opening up the doors and recognizing all the athletes out here tonight. And, right now, it's been truly a daggone inspiring journey for me. And what I want to do is I want to see other athletes that are student athletes that try to make sure they can get their way into this arena right here with all these people. And right now, thanks for your support, everybody coming out tonight. I don't have a long story to tell with a lot of people, so I want to thank you, appreciate you, and God bless.
I want to tell a quick story about Wayne really quickly. This morning when I got up and I was just kind of thinking about tonight, and I, like a lot of people in this gym, grew up in this area, and when I was little, my dad would bring me to games, and one of my first memories, and we were people that work here with me, they talk all the time about my memory, the things that I remember, statistics and scores, and they ask me like, well, how do you remember those things? And I tell them the same. That's just the way my brain works. I can't really explain it. But one of my first memories of Southern Nash athletics was I had to be maybe 9 years old, 10 years old, something like that. But it was during the time, I think it was Wayne's senior year. And it was one of the earliest football games, maybe the opener or the second, game. It was really early in the season. But we played Northern Nash here. And on the last play of the game, Wayne was also the field goal kicker. And Wayne kicked a field goal on the last play of the game and beat Northern Nash by the score of 15-14. Now, that story is 45, 46, 47 years old, something like that. Don't ask me why or how I remember it, but it was a 27-yard field goal. And Northern Nash had two 15-yard penalties called against them on that last drive. But that's one of my first memories of Southern Nash athletics, and I know it was a great night for him and Coach Penner. I knew Coach Penner for a long time, and like I said, that was a great night. So now at this time, I'd like to call up one of our committee members, the Hall of Fame committee members, Ms. Corliss Newkirk, to introduce her cousin, Shirley Hall.
Good evening, everyone. And I don't know why Scott felt like he had to take up some of Wayne Grady's time, but I'm not going to take up any of Shirley's. I'm going to be quick before you. It is indeed an honor to be here tonight to introduce this wonderful person. When she asked me to do it, I just don't think she knew what it meant to me. Shirley Hall is our cousin. She's our sister. She's our friend. She's an A&T Hall of Famer. And now will be Southern Nash Hall of Famer. Unfortunately, due to the age gap between us, I didn't have the privilege of personally seeing Cheryl, as we call her, in action here at her Southern Nash years. But I came across her yearbook, and I'm going to give it back to you, okay? You're going to get it back. And I had some people, some stories in there for some people, and I'm not going to call any names as I share them because some may be in this room. But one person wrote, "You make Southern a better place with your craziness and beauty. I don't know what your plans are, but with the courage and determination you showed this basketball season, I know whatever you do, you can't be anything but number one." Another simply said, "I can't think of words to explain it." They said, "You're the greatest." And someone else mentioned how she played basketball, softball, and ran track. And I'll admit, I didn't even know she ran track till just a few years ago. But anyway, they described Cheryl as spirited, a wonderful person with great leadership and enthusiasm. And one person finally wrote, and I think she probably summed it up best, "Shirley, my hero. I feel as though you are my sister, even though I've only known you for 1 year. I can't thank you enough for the many things you taught me. I have felt it a privilege to play basketball with you. Even though I haven't improved much, you really helped me. You kept me going so many times with your smiles and laughter. You are one of the greatest people, and not just in sports." this person says, "You have been a bright light in my life." I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Cheryl was also crowned homecoming queen here at Southern Nash, and that says a lot about her personality. While I didn't get to witness her athletic abilities during her years here, I did have the privilege of playing community softball with her. And that's when I got to personally see some of those legendary skills that others talked about. I watched her slam home runs, tag bases at what felt like track record speed, and she had a powerful arm. When she would throw the ball to you, it came with such force, it would almost lift you up off the ground, or it would hit so hard, it would knock the glove off your hand. I lie to you not. But if she was throwing it to you, she thought you could catch it. And if you didn't, great attitude. She would always say, "That's all right, we'll get them next time." Everything these people said about her in 1977 still holds true today. Cheryl is special. She is great. She's a wonderful person. She's a close friend. She is our family hero. And yes, she's still a little crazy at times. She brings enthusiasm into everything she does. And if you're around her long enough, she'll have you laughing till you're crying. And I believe it was Wayne Grady who wrote in the yearbook, "Why are you always laughing?" Well, we are here tonight because she truly deserves to be honored. Her presence and the legacy she left set a standard for those who came after her. Nothing can be added, and certainly nothing can be taken away from the impact she made on the coaches who led her, the teammates who played beside her, and the many who simply stood in awe of the God-given talents and abilities. So without further ado, I present to you my cousin, our friend, our sister, our shero, Miss Shirley Hall.
Good evening, everyone. And like she said, that is a long walk. And I got two bad knees, okay? But I made it, okay. Tonight, I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame committee for inducting me into this great high school Hall of Fame, Southern Nash High School. Man, red, white, and blue. We wore it proudly. And when I set foot in, when I came to Southern in 1975, and I know a lot of y'all wasn't born then, but I came here in 1975. Couldn't wait to get to Southern Nash Senior High School, because I felt like then, hey, I done made it. I was in high school. So I would like to thank everyone for being here tonight, especially my family. But I also want to say that this journey isn't just about me. It's also about all the track, softball, basketball teammates that I had the pleasure of playing with while here at Southern Nash Senior High. To all the coaches that guided me, thank you. And to my supportive family, I love y'all. All right then, throw it back at me now. Okay, thank you for your support. My friends that I made along the way. And one of the great things about the memories that I have at Southern are the friends and the teammates that I had the pleasure of, till to this day, formed a relationship that has lasted a lifetime. You know, they say a lot of times, you know, friends come and go, but these friends have remained friends from the time I set foot at Southern Nash in 1975. Where my friends at? All right now. Okay. I also would like to honor the women that what I call the trailblazers that came before me. If it had not been for them, it would be no me. And I want to recognize those trailblazers tonight. Number one is my sister, Harlem Hall. My sister, I had the privilege of being able to play ball beside my sister. Also, my cousin, who also was a trailblazer, Juanita Hall. Okay? These women that I'm mentioning right now, they started this program here at Southern Nash Senior High, way before I got here in 1975. Gloria and Linda Pope. Gloria Pope was the first superstar athlete here at Southern Nash. When you mentioned Gloria Pope, you knew that when you mentioned her, hey, it was all skills. Her sister Linda, hey, took out the whole basketball team. She was the defensive person. Also, the Susan Buns. When you want somebody to shoot that's before the 3-point shots came. You had Susan Bunn. You had Anna Wood. You had Lorraine Riley. You had Vandy Bass. These are the trailblazers that was here at Southern Nash Senior High School that paved the way for us to stand on their shoulders in order for us to be able to participate in the sports here at Southern Nash. Also, I would like to thank my coaches. Now, I've had some outstanding coaches. And my number one coach, my first coach that I ever had, you know, playing and taught me softball, with the game of softball, was Ulysses Harrison. This man was dedicated to the community, Spring Hope community. He would come home every Friday afternoon from Fort Bragg in order for us to practice softball. There was nothing else in the community, and so he decided that, okay, he was going to start a softball team. And he dedicated himself to drive from Fort Bragg every Friday afternoon to have us on that field and had us out there on Saturday and Sunday all day, all night, playing what we love to do. Coach Horace, I want to thank you for being my first coach and believing in my potential when I was just starting out playing softball. Your guidance shaped my passion for the game. Thank you for laying the groundwork and for the dedication to my growth. Coach Horace, if you don't mind standing, this man just had a birthday. He turned 92 years young. Now, I also had another outstanding coach, and I'm telling you, she the greatest of all times here at Southern Nash Senior High. Nobody can top her. And I'm talking about Rosalie Barton. Coach, I wasn't ready for you to stand yet. Okay. But this woman, when she walked into a room, you better recognize. Because she made sure that when she walked in a room, she got your attention. And it was not just for her players, but the student body as a whole. Now, he said he got a great memory. Coach Rosalie got an outstanding memory. I just told her the other day, how do you remember all this stuff? How do you remember all these people, places, things, and everything? She said, I just do, you know. But Coach Rosalie, I want to thank you for leading us, teaching us new things. Thank you for helping us to shine, whether we won or lost. And she did not like to lose. Thank you, Coach, for the strength, giving us strength when at times we wanted to give up. Thank you for guiding us and caring about each player. But most of all, thank you for inspiring us. And when you played for Coach Rosalie, not just because you played ball for her, she cared about every player. She would go out of her way. And of course, my sister and my cousin, you know, a lot of times we did not have a way, transportation to and from the games and whatnot. Coach Rosalie made it possible through some of the teammates' parents to make sure that we got to practice and we got home safely. She always made sure that we were present at school. If you were not here, she gonna find out why. And one of the things I remember about Coach Rosalie is the fact that we was playing a basketball game against CBA Cott, and we was winning. And I think one of the players got upset with me, and she did an undercut when I went up. So I came down on my leg wrong. So I injured my knee that night. So I sat on the bench and whatnot, and I told Coach, I said, I think I can go back in. Well, when I went back in, I knew that I didn't need to be in there. So before we left, she said, the first thing in the morning, we're gonna get your knee taken care of. And that night, we went and had my knee checked out and whatnot. And so she said, I need for you to be at school tomorrow. Well, I didn't come to school the next day because I didn't do what she told me to do. I was supposed to have kept my leg elevated and I didn't. And so the next morning I could not straighten it out. So I didn't come to school. But anyway, she found the best surgeon to work on my knee at the time, Dr. Jeanette in Wilson. And from there, she mended my wound. I was in the whirlpool. I was, exercising. I was able to get back out and play basketball. And she knew my entire family. Now, if she know my entire family, she's special. Because it's a lot of us. And all of us grew up in the same household. And y'all remember the Waltons? At night they would say, good night, John boy, good night, so-and-so. Well, we couldn't do that because if that was the case, we wouldn't have went to sleep. Because, we would still be calling out names, okay? So, but Coach Rosalie, she knew every person in my family personally. So, Coach, can you please stand? Thank you, sir. Thank you, Coach. I had another coach, and I'm telling you, all these coaches were different. When you thought you had the best coach, then the next time you got this coach was better, and then you got another coach. So all the coaches were different. So the third coach that I had the pleasure of playing for, when I left Southern, I thought that was it. Okay, I thought that I done graduated, my sports days are over. It's time for me to do something different. So I said, well, that's the end for me. But it wasn't the end. It was a beginning. I went to, and I I tell this all the time. It was not my intention at first, but I enrolled at North Carolina A&T State University in 1978. And when I got there, I didn't know a lot of people. I'm like Wayne, I didn't know a lot of people there. So I stayed to myself. I would go to class and I come back home. I go to class and come back home. But I knew that I wanted to play sports, so I said, well, I'm going to try out for this basketball team. Now, mind you, I was a walk-on. I did not receive a scholarship. And I decided that I was going to try out for basketball. And that's when I met Coach Joy Spruill. She was the women's basketball, softball, volleyball coach. She was all of it. But I tried out for the basketball team, and I didn't have a lot of faith in myself because now I'm on another level. So I decided I was going to try out anyway. Well, I made the team, but I had to let them know and where Spring Hope, North Carolina was. I'm not from Rocky Mount. I'm not from Raleigh, because they always tell you in between. I'm from Spring Hope. Well, they never heard of Spring Hope, North Carolina. So I said, well, I'm from Spring Hope, North Carolina. And of course, we didn't get a lot of, publicity back then, in 1977, females, just, hey, you play sports, that was the end. Not like it is today. Because I could have been rich, I believe. I think I could have. If not, halfway there. But anyway, I met Coach Spruill, and she gave me the opportunity to play basketball for the North Carolina A&T Aggiettes at the time. And Coach may not know this, but I got two friends that I met there that have been my friends to this day. And if you don't know anything about how college works, they decided they was gonna do bring you in and do a little initiation. And of course, I wasn't familiar with it, and I was in my room minding my business, watching TV, and I had 3 ladies come to my room, and they were nice-sized ladies now. At the time. And they came to my room, and I felt like, okay, they're coming, to congratulate me for, making the basketball team. Well, when they approached the room, they decide they're going to say, get her. When they said, get her, all of them jumped on me. They was, that was part of initiation. But I had to let them know that I was from Spring Hope, North Carolina. I had to make sure that I put Spring Hope on the map. Well, Coach Spruill didn't know anything about this. This is what they're doing, okay? Those 2 ladies that sitting back there in that room right there, that got the biggest smile on their face, there was 2 of them. But I want you to know, y'all could have been proud of me. I knew then when they told me they wanted to be my friend for the rest of my life. And they have been, okay? But I also like to let Coach Spruill know that the best coach isn't always the one with the best players, or with the best ranking, or with the most wins. The best coaches are those that do more with less, that change lives of their athletes for the better, and teach the importance of character. Coach Spruill developed a team that made history in 1979 by becoming the only HBCU to win a state NCAA Division I softball championship, defeating North Carolina State University not once, but twice. The only time it has ever been done, and that coach made it possible. So Coach Spruill, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to have been a part of the historical team. A team you will always believe in, and still to this day, you are connected with those players. And I want to thank you, Coach. Can you just stand, Coach? Wave your hand. Okay? And to all my coaches, 1 minute, okay. To all my coaches, a good coach can change a game. A great coach can change a life. Behind every player who believes in themselves is a coach who believes in them first. And last but not least, my family, I would like to thank you all for all the support, for all the years, whether I got inducted to the Hall of Fame or not, whether I play sports or not, I can always count on my family. And my auntie that's back there in the back, I thank you for also being a part of my life and my sister's life and the role that she took on to help raise all her nieces and nephews along with her own children. I thank you so much for being here tonight. And thank you all, and I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Rick Taylor is our next speaker, coming up to introduce his former athlete, Ricky Howard.
Well, I'll say this. I graduated from this school in 1989, so I can confirm a couple of things. Lisa Tyson did graduate in 1990. Yes, indeed, Scott Colley graduated in 1987, 3-year gap. And I can confirm 2 other things. Lisa Tyson was one heck of a basketball player. And in the era of roster construction, she could have used a little help. If she just had Georgia Davis on her team, they would have won a lot more than 4 games. And while we are chronicling all these great accomplishments tonight, I do want to keep in the forefront, Scott not only graduated in 1987, but on senior night 1987, right about where one of these tables were, he hit the game. I know he's a great coach that you all love and admire. And I know he's, an incredible MC, but he was a good point guard. And on senior night against Southwest Edgecombe, he hit the game-winning shot just inside the free throw line to beat Southwest Edgecombe in senior night 1987. Yep, so 49-48. He remembers the score, of course, yeah. Well, I have the honor and privilege tonight to talk about Ricky Howard, another Hall of Famer. And I had the honor of coaching Ricky from 2000 to 2002. And, Southern Nash, in over 50 years of its history, has had a lot of baseball players, a lot of really good baseball players, a lot of great baseball players. And Ricky is definitely one of the great ones. And to be one of the first 2 inductees as baseball players, along with Wayne Grady, in over 50 years of history, is quite an honor for Ricky. And he deserves it. I'm happy for him and for his family. And it's a great honor for him. And to be one of the first 2, he is just a great representative on behalf of all the baseball players who have played here to be one of the first 2 inductees. When I think about Ricky's career here at Southern, I think a lot about how he was respected by so many different people from so many different groups. His teammates respected him a great deal. And from the time he played varsity, started on varsity as a sophomore, it wasn't a big splash at the beginning. When he started, we DH'd him. We batted him in the 8th spot. He was a good catcher, but we had a senior catcher. So we thought we'll just put him down in the order in the 8th spot and let him DH, and let's just see what happens. And it wasn't long before, I think 4 games into the season, we were playing a really good Wilson Fike team over there. And we could not do much with their pitch. They had 2 really good pitchers that year. They were coming off a state championship, and they had 2 outstanding pitchers. We couldn't do much with them, but late in the game, he had a home run from the 8th spot. And it wasn't long before we moved him up to the 3 spot in the order. And he never moved from that spot for the rest of his 3 years and just had a lot of great accomplishments. But when he accomplished things and started to receive notoriety for things, his teammates always supported him. They always respected him because they knew the work that he had put into it, the humble person he was, and he was just, beyond his talent and his performance, he was a great teammate who pulled for his teammates, so they pulled for him. He was respected by people in the building and in the classroom. You know, the teachers, I never heard anybody say a bad thing about Ricky. Just what a great example he was of a student athlete around here that you could, you never had to worry about him. You could be proud of him. You could, his classmates pulled for him. You know, he had a lot of football teammates and other friends that played basketball and other sports who didn't play baseball. But they knew Ricky played baseball and they knew how much it meant to him. They knew how good he was. And they pulled for him, and they loved to hear about how great Ricky Howard was doing, and so they pulled for him. And I'm glad that today, you know, he's able to help with the baseball program here to give an example and pass along his knowledge to the boys down at the baseball field now. And I just hope that they will listen to him as he talks about how to handle himself or how to handle themselves up here in the building and work hard down on the field and be good examples and representatives for the baseball program here in the future as he helps. And, you know, another group that really respected Ricky and shared that with me would be the opposing coaches that we played. And Ricky, while he was here, established a really great reputation for himself. I mean, he was a little bit of a celebrity in the baseball community around this area. His sophomore year, all 3 years he was on varsity, we played in an Easter spring break tournament in Tarboro that had 8 teams. And there would be 4 that would come down from up north, and it would be 4 local teams that would play. And his sophomore year, they had a home run derby, home run competition the day before the tournament started, and Ricky won it his sophomore year. And he hit a lot of home runs throughout his career. But he won this home run competition, and it was majestic. It was very impressive what he did that night and really made a name for himself. And so for the rest of our time playing in that tournament, these teams that would come down from up north, New York and Massachusetts, when they would come down and I'd see their coaches his junior and senior year, the first thing they would say is Ricky still on the team? Or how's Ricky doing? They couldn't wait to see Ricky. They couldn't wait to, talk to Ricky again. He'd become a celebrity up in the Northeast. And they just respected him. I remember there was a coach, Rabbit Fulgham, who was a legendary coach at Green Central. He just passed away here very recently. And we played them Green Central his sophomore and junior years, Ricky's sophomore and junior years. And Coach Fulgham, I learned playing him, he was not a big talker. You know, before the game and after the game, there's not a lot of glad handing. He just was there to get his field ready, get the team ready, shake hands after the game, good game. But after we played his junior year, I think Ricky got 2 hits that night. And after the game, Coach Fulgham, good game. And he just paused for a minute and he said, I like your catcher. And Ricky was the catcher. And he said, he's got great hands. And I thought, man, this man never says anything beyond good game. And I thought it really stood out to him. So that fall of Ricky's senior year, I took him to a tryout or a workout for a showcase team that Coach Fulgham had down in Snow Hill at Green Central that had some of the best players from all over eastern North Carolina, from Wilmington to Raleigh, Greenville, Kinston, down to the southeast North Carolina. And Ricky went down there. And I knew Coach Fulgham liked his hands and thought he was a good hitter. And he ended up playing on that team. And by the time they got through that fall, early on, it was pretty clear that Ricky was one of the best hitters in eastern North Carolina. And those guys from all over those areas, different parts of the eastern part of the state, really respected Ricky. And he played with a lot of them and against some of them when he went on to play college at Lewisburg and at Campbell. So he was highly respected throughout the area. In our conference, he played 3 years on varsity, all 3 years. There were the same coaches at Fike, Beddingfield, and Hunt who were in our conferences. Coach Flowers at Fike, Coach O'Neill at Beddingfield, and Coach Hennett at Hunt. And they got to know Ricky pretty well, and he did a lot of damage against their teams. And so by the time he got to be a senior, I think they colluded. They decided that when he comes through Wilson, we've seen enough of Ricky Howard swinging the bat. We're going to walk him. And so for about a week and a half, all 3 of them intentionally walked him all 4 times up at the plate. And so his parents didn't get to see him swing the bat for about a week and a half. But he scored a lot of runs thanks to his other teammates. And the second time through, they didn't walk him. But they really respected him and had a great deal of respect for him, and as his teammates did and as other coaches did. And so when we got to the conference meeting at the end of the year to vote on all conference and make our cases for player of the year, which Ricky won that year, in addition to his home runs and RBIs and hits, doubles, batting average, all those things, I was able to say, okay, Ricky walked 16 times and, you all intentionally walked him 12 times. So, that was really their vote for him as a player of the year. And there was another person, as those coaches got to know how good Ricky was and appreciate him, there was another person early on that got to know and recognize how good Ricky was. I'll tell one quick story. After his junior year, the summer of Ricky's junior year, he was playing on the American Legion baseball team in Rocky Mount with some of the best players from Southern and Rocky Mountain Northern. And I went to watch him. And they were a few games into the season, and I had his first game I'd been to of his season. I'd been helping with our summer team over here at Southern. And they were playing a good team out of either Pitt County or Snow Hill or somewhere down east. And I went up and sat with his mom, Joanne, and his dad, Ricky, up in the stands. And we were just catching up on how things were going for Ricky and how things were going for the boys over here at Southern. And we were just talking, and all of a sudden, midway through the game, this pitcher came on in relief for one of those teams, and I recognized the boy who was pitching. I knew he was a really good prospect, and I had heard about him. I'd never seen him pitch. I was looking forward to watching him pitch. And so I just mentioned it to his parents. I said, this guy, he's really good from wherever he was from. And I said, he's got a really good curveball, or I can't remember which one it was, but I either said, man, he's got a really good curveball, or he's supposed to have a really good fastball. And I was pretty excited. And his mom, who was as humble as Ricky was, who never said anything, just let the game play out, let the coaches coach and the players play and the teammates be teammates and all those things. She never said anything. I think she kept a little scorebook in her lap during the games. And I made that comment about, boy, this guy's really good. He's got this good curveball. And she'd been looking down, and she just looked up at me, and she said, well, Coach, he may have a good curveball. I don't care what pitch he has. If he throws it over the plate, he's going to be in trouble. And so I knew then that his mom knew before a lot of the people who voted on all conference and all state and player of the year knew that her son Ricky was a heck of a hitter, and he was a really good player. And because of his parents, he was a really good person. And it wasn't long before everybody knew that, because his senior year was really something special. And so now with this honor tonight, everybody's going to know what a good hitter he was, what a good player, what a good person. And as of tonight, everybody's going to know that he's a Hall of Famer. So I'd like to welcome up here Hall of Famer baseball player Ricky Howard.
Yeah, good. That's good, man.
Good evening. It's truly an honor to be here tonight as part of Southern Nash Athletic Hall of Fame class of 2026. This recognition means so much to me, and I'm incredibly grateful to be standing here. First, I want to congratulate my fellow honorees. Being recognized alongside such talented and accomplished individuals is both humbling and inspiring. Your hard work and dedication sets a standard that makes this moment even more special. I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame committee for this honor and for your commitment to celebrating the history and achievements of Southern Nash. It means a lot to be remembered in this way. To my family, thank you for everything. Your love, support, and sacrifices made all of this possible. You stood by me through every challenge and every success, and I'm forever grateful. To all of my teachers, thank you for guiding me and helping me grow, not just academically, but as a person. The lessons you taught me have stayed with me far beyond the classroom. To my coaches, thank you for pushing me to be my best. You taught me discipline, hard work, and what it truly means to be part of a team. Those lessons have shaped me in ways that go far beyond sports. A special thank you to my guidance counselor, Ms. Lee Gotro. Your encouragement and belief in me made a real difference, and I'm truly thankful for your support. And to my teammates, thank you for your memories, the hard work, and the bond we shared. We push each other every day, and those experiences are something I'll always carry with me this honor belongs to you as well. This moment is not just about me, it's about everyone who helped me along the way. I'm proud to represent Southern Nash, and I'm deeply thankful for this recognition. Thank you.
Last but not least, I'd like to bring up Mr. Robbie Carter, here to introduce his colleague, Ricky Cockrell Rich.
Well, thank you for this opportunity tonight. I thank Ricky for the opportunity tonight. And it is a long walk across there. For those of us who have been here since the 19-somethings, it's a long walk. So let me begin tonight, though, by, on a serious note, by giving praise and honor to the Lord Jesus Christ, who makes all things possible. And as I tell my students all the time, you don't need to believe that because I said it, but you need to believe it because God's word says it. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. That's Colossians 1:17. We also need to honor and want to honor tonight all the inductees, and I do congratulate all of them as they are inducted into the Southern Nash Hall of Fame. Again, if I may, let me refer you to scripture on that. I tell my students too, if I say it, you check it out in the Word, because it's not right because I said it, it's right because God said it. But this scripture, I think, applies to our inductees because I feel sure that this is what made I know it made it possible for all of them to accomplish what they did. Commit your work to the Lord, and your plans will be established. That's Proverbs 16 and verse 3. And thank you again to the committee, and as others have said, and all people that made this possible tonight, and for their acknowledgement of the great accomplishments of the inductees that we have. So now let me take a few moments to talk about the Hall of Fame Firebird that I'm introducing. I first came to know this young lady as a student in one of the best classes I've ever had, and I've had right many. I've had some other good ones too, but this one was exceptional. It was right across that wall right there. If you want to go check it out sometimes, it's right there. The person we honor tonight is an excellent example of that class and the quality of that class. As a young lady, she's still a young lady. As a young student, her attention to detail was evident, as she was an exceptional student. And in addition to her academic prowess, she was just someone that was just a pleasure to be around and to interact with. While she was doing this great work in the classroom, which is where I observed her the most, obviously, she was also doing Southern Nash proud on the court and the ball field. She was a 4-time All Big 8 selection in volleyball and basketball, led the Twin Counties in scoring as a freshman in basketball, and in softball, she was a part of the Lady Bird team that won the 1995 Slow Pitch State Championship, which I might add, Miss Rosalie Barden coached. In 1994, our honoree was the Big 8 Softball Player of the Year. And in 97, her number 44 basketball jersey was retired. And following this stellar career at Southern Nash, she received a scholarship to UNC Pembroke in basketball. And I think she did some other things there at Pembroke as well. My relationship with Ricky began at Southern Nash, but by the grace of God, it has continued in our current work environment at Faith Christian School in Rocky Mount. As she did in her high school days, she's still focused on detail and attentive to the task at hand. She shows respect to her colleagues and the students that she leads. She shows God's love and grace to those around her as she serves as the high school principal at Faith Christian. In addition to being principal, she also teaches statistics and global connections. Sometimes I walk in that room where she teaches statistics. I don't know what that stuff is she got on the board. My world just has words. Okay, you don't have all them other things. But she does a great job with that. And I thank the Lord, and I truly mean that I've had the privilege to work with such a special person. Our Hall of Famer is the daughter of Mr. and Ms. Rick Cockrell. She's married to Mr. Marcus Rich, and they are the parents of two daughters, Addison, who is a student at Meredith College, and Mackenzie, who is currently a sophomore at Faith Christian. I could talk for a lot longer about Ricky and her accomplishments and so forth, or about a lot of other things. They may know I can do that, but I'm not going to do that. At this time, it is my great pleasure and honor to introduce to you the next member of the Southern Nash Athletic Hall of Fame, Ms. Ricky Cockrell Rich.
Thank you, Mr. Carter, for those kind words. The perk of going last is that pretty much everything has been said that needs to be said. So I promise I'm going to keep this short and sweet. First, to my fellow inductees, congratulations. I think it's been very apparent in everything that we've heard tonight, the role that Southern Nash has played in our lives and what a blessing it is to be a part of the Firebird family. To my parents, Rick and Pam, some of my greatest supporters. I'll try not to get emotional, but they've been with me and sacrificed to always put me in the best position to succeed. And like Lisa, I came through the camcorder era. Unfortunately, my mother would get really excited. So 90% of the footage we have is of her feet or the ceiling, but I do appreciate the effort there. So to my husband, Marcus, he's been by my side for over 20 years now, and our two girls, Addison and Mackenzie, who make me so proud. They've endured many crazy stories over the years. They also endure my love of the Dallas Cowboys and the Chicago Cubs. And anybody who's familiar with those two teams know that's not an easy task. That's not an easy task. And finally, a thank you to my former Southern Nash teammates, teachers, staff, coaches. One that I have to recognize, Coach Barden, who's already been mentioned tonight. She never accepted anything less than 100% from us. And winning that state championship and seeing her cartwheel all the way around the field is a core memory that I cherish. So thank you, Coach. With that, I'll end by just thanking God for the abundance of blessings that He has bestowed upon me in my athletic life, in my personal life, now in my professional life. Mr. Carter's heard me say this many times, and I say it to my students, that I'm a firm believer that He orders our steps. And nights like tonight, I think, are evidence of that. So thank you, and go Firebirds.
Ricky, but just stay right there. At this time, I'd like to ask all of the honorees to join me on stage for one final celebration. So we'd like all the honorees to come up on stage together, please. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give this Southern Nash Athletics Hall of Fame class of 2026 one last round of applause. We'd like to thank everyone for attending this event tonight. It truly is a special night. It's certainly an honor to be a part of this. The gym will remain open until 9 p.m. for pictures, fellowship, and conversation. We do appreciate everyone's support and look forward to seeing you all next year. And as numerous inductees said tonight, as always, go Firebirds.
Thank you.